thanks for joining us today. So Emer is the former chair of the Open Data Governance Board in Ireland, where she advised the Irish government on the development in their open data strategy. She's also the founder of a business consultancy group called Disruption Limited. As a woman in tech with a strong background in open data, both in the private and public sectors, today we're going to have a chat about the importance of open data, women in the tech industry, and diversity and inclusion. Emer, can you explain to people who may not be aware what open data is and its benefits?
Sure. So open data basically is any data that's collected, usually by governments and public organizations. So this could be across a range of data sets, such as health, for example, transport, infrastructure, utilities, etc. So that's generally collected by government on behalf of citizens.
And why is open data important in a business context?
Well, I suppose in a public sector context, it's important because with COVID, for example, this is the first time that in America and in the UK, they've had centralized dashboards across health that's giving them vital information to make critical decisions about people's lives, about the vaccine program. And that's the first time that's happened because traditionally, all of this data is kept in private silos and it's not shared. And of course, what we need in times of crisis like a pandemic is to share our understanding across various data sets. It's important for business because once you open up that kind of a data set to business and to the market, engineers and software developers can innovate on it.
Now, ethical data is very important in this context. And what is the line between ethical and non-ethical data?
I suppose what I'd say there is there really isn't anything. You can't call data ethical or unethical. It's what we do with data that's ethical or unethical. So you may collect a vast amount of private data, for example, on individuals, but not do anything negative about that. So the data in itself doesn't have a moral kind of context. It's what we do with it as humans by selling it to third parties, by what we would call surveillance capitalism, for example, by using that data to basically know far too much about a person's life and then to sell that data on to third parties.
You're now operating in the tech industry for a vast amount of time. Do you think enough is done to help women get into the tech industry? And if not, what would you recommend?
Yeah, no, frankly, I don't think there is enough done. And I think, what I say to people now is just do it. The amount of noise and discussion about getting women into tech, it's like, well, actually get women into tech then, you know what I mean? So I think it's about employers, first of all, saying it's not good enough not to have this kind of diverse representation or organizations. And that's largely white males who have to make that decision. And they have to say, I am committed to changing this. And it's not good enough for me to look around my boardroom and see all the same people looking back at me. So fundamentally, it's where is the commitment to change? I mean, there's a lot of discourse, there's a lot of dialogue, but there's very little action.
What specific changes do you think companies need to make in creating that more diverse and inclusive environment?
Well, I think they have to stop looking in the same places for where they're hiring. And I think that means actually making a commitment to growing the pool and looking at organizations like North Coders, for example, in Manchester, which takes people who have no coding skills through a 3-month program. Now, it wouldn't be hard for, say, 10 organizations in an area like Manchester, for example, to put up a pool of money. Well, if you think of the cost of recruitment for companies, for example, we're going to grow our own talent base and we're specifically targeting diverse participants from both socioeconomic groups, race and gender. Like, it's not hard. It's just they don't have the commitment to do it, right? So, and just like with self-regulation doesn't happen in tech companies because it's not in their interests, right? So I'm a great believer in quotas myself. Younger people particularly go, oh no, I don't want to be hired just because I'm a woman. It's like, why? Because you think everybody who's in that company is there because they're brilliant? Like, I think personally, certainly at my age, seeing the number of women who are left in the business, I'm going, yeah, quotas for sure.
What advice would you give women wishing to enter the tech industry?
Build a network. I think that's really important. So build a network of other women in technology. So try and reach out through social networks, etc., and get into dialogue. Because again, we know women traditionally tend not to ask for as much money or get paid as much money. And it's really useful to have a network of women you can say, hey, What did you get paid for doing that gig? How much do you charge for a consultancy fee? So that's an open and supportive process, because it's really interesting. You know, I've had lots of younger women ask me, gosh, so how much would I charge? And typically they'll be charging half of what they should. So I think it's to build that network, also with male colleagues, of course, but being able to ask those open questions so that you can get a candid view of what the field and the industry is actually like.
In terms of when a male or a female looks at a job description, what opinion do you have around that area?
Well, I think it's interesting. LinkedIn have done some research around this, and what their data shows, and it's obviously they have a very good database, a wide data set, that women are less likely to apply for a job if they don't tick 100% of the requirements of the job spec. Whereas blokes will fill about 70 and they'll go, do you know what, I'll give it a try. So, you know, they are prepared to put their hat in the ring in a way that women are not, because, and that, I don't know what that is, maybe just a cultural phenomenon, but that's what the data from LinkedIn shows. So I think it's about women being prepared to say, do you know what, I can do 70% of that. And personally, myself, I've been asked in an interview before, can you do such and such? And my response has always been, no, not currently. But if you give me the job, I'll be able to do it in 3 months. You know, because we have to have confidence in our capabilities. You know, if we'd be capable enough to get that far, we're capable enough to go the last round. And I think that also means employers have to hire on potential as much as they're hiring on experience, because that's an important, I think, metric for improving your diversity.